Let's talk about real estate and this idea that maybe it's just a little too expensive for businesses to locate in places like New York and Washington, D.C.
Not terrible for investors, but the prices have gotten a little high, so investors are looking where the yields could be better, places like Houston, places like Denver, places like Raleigh-Durham.
What qualifies as high when you talk about real estate prices, let's say per square foot?
You know, it really depends on your yield expectation. It depends on your holding period. But when you get into the thousands of dollars per square foot, whether it be for apartments or even for office buildings, then investors start to look at what's the replacement cost. Do I really want to hold this thing long enough to get the return that I want? Oh, Houston's less expensive and the yields are better and the employment is better and the demographics look better. Maybe I'll look at Houston.
Okay, so you're saying Houston, places like Dallas and Austin, does it have anything to do with the oil business?
It does. There's definitely a correlation. If you look at the GMP, the gross metropolitan product of a place like Houston, clearly oil's driving that. But that economy is very, very diverse. There's EDs, there's MEDs, there's a lot of different pieces to the economy, not just oil. And one of the things real estate investors love is economic diversity. So Houston's interesting for a lot of reasons.
So what would you get? Let's say if you wanted to go and relocate your business to Houston, what kind of numbers should you be looking for in terms of costs?
On a per square foot basis?
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is you have rents that are in the teens, rents that are in the 20s, and you look at a place like New York City or a place like London or a place like Washington, D.C., and you have rents that are 2 or 3 times that. But it really depends on the business and what your expectations are over the long term. But what's interesting is there's an exit strategy if you're in Houston because there's other investors that like it. And what's happened in the past is markets like that didn't have the depth of investors. Now they do.
All right, we talked about Houston, Austin, and Dallas. All right, so that covers Texas. What about some of the other areas, like Phoenix, for example?
Phoenix, great. Boomers like it. Millennials like it, right? Phoenix you thought about as a retirement community. Not anymore. There's job growth there. So the millennials are going where the jobs are, and they're interested in places like Phoenix.
What about in Charlotte, in North Carolina?
That's all about the financial services industry coming back.
Bank of America there?
You've got 2 or 3 financial services powerhouses there, but you also have the high-tech businesses there. And, again, that's where the jobs are. And one of the things we got this year in the work that we do with our Emerging Trends in Real Estate Survey is that jobs are chasing people, not the other way around.
So people got to find affordable places to live, and the jobs go there.
Right. They find affordable places to live, or they go to school there, they like it there, they find jobs there. Employers are going where the people are. So that's sort of positive momentum. Then more employers come because the people are there, and then that's how the economy booms in the city.
Is there a commercial real estate market right now that has been left for dead or that is just not attracting attention, but we're going to be talking about it maybe this year?
Detroit.
Detroit.
What's interesting is in the survey we do, last year we surveyed 51 cities, and Detroit was number 51, and many times years before it was 51. This year we increased it to 75 cities, and Detroit's in the 30s, right in the middle of the mix. Okay?
And is it expensive to be in Detroit?
No, you can buy for significantly less than replacement cost, and there are startups in Detroit. Because the cost of doing business is so low and rents are low, startups trying to keep their costs down say, why don't we go where there's cheap operating cost? There is an employment base there, so Detroit's a city I'd look at.
And also you got the University of Michigan, you got a lot of other educational institutions,
you do.
right?
Yeah.
Tell me about residential real estate for just a second, because as you were coming on, you said that was that equation, right? Rent versus buy when it comes to residential.
Yeah, rents, when vacancy rates are around 4% year after year, and rent growth is, in some markets double-digit, renters are getting priced out of the market. So in some markets, like in Atlanta, Georgia, it's actually cheaper to buy than it is to rent.
Glad you mentioned Atlanta. What about Atlanta for commercial real estate? Because they just did a big expansion at Hartsfield International.
What's interesting about Atlanta is everybody focused on the downturn in the downtown. But if you look at the geography of Atlanta, there's many places in the suburbs that are really, really interesting. Midtown, Buckhead. So Atlanta's becoming a very hot market again.
And if we go to places like Miami, I got to assume that, like the residential market there, the commercial market probably also strong?
Miami's on fire. And on fire. Because you have the condominium market that really sort of tanked right after the financial crisis and blew back up again. Very interesting to Latin American buyers. Western European, Eastern European buyers. They like the condominium side of things. And it's not just investors. There are actually people who are living there, because when you have a lot of investors in a market, that doesn't look like it's durable. But you have businesses relocating down there. Why? Because it's popular with millennials, And it's actually popular. Obviously, we think of Florida, we think of retirees. Let's not rule out the retirees in the workforce and how you can get sort of operating leverage by part-time retirees being part of your workforce.
How about cities, what we would call regional cities, second-tier cities in the United States, those that may have been off the map? Are they gaining more attention?
More and more, and that's why we increased our survey to 75 cities, up from 51, because the smaller cities, like the East Bay and San Francisco, look at that as a different market. Palo Alto and San Jose look at those as separate markets. Also, Columbus, Ohio. Columbus, Ohio.
Big retail area.
Very, very cold version of Austin, Texas. That's what I'll call it, because you have the university there, and the kids, they graduate from school, and there's employment opportunities there. They stay.
So we got to think of Columbus, Ohio, Detroit, Michigan, and then maybe even Phoenix, Arizona.
Phoenix, Arizona, Denver, Colorado.